The big domestic issue here at home, what to do about gun violence. The White House is pushing back hard on suggestions that they do not believe they can win a ban on assault weapons and are focusing on other options. In fact, a senior administration official tells me within the hour that an assault weapons ban and background checks are both going to be in the final set of proposals that go to the president, despite our reports to the controversy. But the NRA president, who met with Vice President Biden yesterday, is drawing a hard line on assault weapons.
We don't think that a ban on so-called assault weapons, which hasn't worked in the past, is going to work this time. We think many of those proposals are basically feel-good proposals, and what we really need to do is get to the question of why this is happening and what can be done about it.
Former Pennsylvania Governor and Congressman Tom Ridge, who also served as the first Homeland Security Secretary, joins me now. This issue, what should we do about guns? You, in 1994, as a member of Congress, were just telling me you voted for the assault weapon ban. Just days before the Republican primary, you were running for governor.
Correct.
How badly did the NRA hurt you in Pennsylvania, where the NRA is king?
Well, we've always had healthy respect for NRA and the Second Amendment, but it was pretty clear to me that after that vote, they were able to harness some considerable opposition to my candidacy, which obviously, as good as organized as it was, I managed to prevail. And one of the challenges I think the NRA needs to confront, and I want to protect the Second Amendment rights as well, but you take a look at every constitutional amendment, and there are legitimate restrictions and modifications on all. The best example I can give everybody is freedom of speech. Absolutely, but it's not universal. You cannot yell fire in a crowded theater. The right to bear arms under the Second Amendment allows us to, is a constitutionally protected right, but I mean, how far do you go? And I think as a veteran, and I dare say if you asked any veteran who's used an assault weapon in combat or trained with it, whether or not they think their next door neighbor, as well-intentioned as they are, needs to be able to buy one across the counter, I think most veterans would say absolutely not.
Now, you've worked with mayors and police chiefs around the country in your role as Homeland Security Secretary, and I know that a majority of them feel very strongly about this assault weapon issue and the magazines as well. If the president puts this in the proposal, and I'm told that he will, that he is absolutely committed to the assault weapon ban, reports to the contrary, including what we were reporting earlier based on other information from White House sources, he is going to have the assault weapon ban and he's going to have the background checks in there. Is it going to get through Congress?
I think it will. I think the mood of the nation has changed. I think the fact that they were able to do it back in '94, and we have to be honest with one another. This is a very important step, but it's only the first step that the country must take if we're going to deal with the issue of gun violence. And during the course of this discussion, nobody's talking to those 25 to 30 people a day who get killed in urban America on one-on-one. We're not talking about mental health or a lot of other issues, and we certainly haven't dealt with a lot of the cultural issues. So is it an important first step? Yes, it is, but we shouldn't kid ourselves that the challenge is met simply with an assault weapon ban.
How did Newtown change everything, if it did?
You know, unfortunately, I hope it did, but I thought Columbine would. And then you thought the disaster, the horror associated with Aurora, Colorado, in the theater.
And Virginia Tech.
And Virginia Tech. And I was on board, was one of the groups that was part of that panel to look at Virginia Tech. And there was a young man there that had a series of mental health issues that were recognizable from an early part of his life, and yet somehow that was not transmitted, that information, to the school. People saw they had mental health issues. So at the epicenter of this, which has not been discussed too much lately, is America's response, not to socially awkward boys and men normally, but the whole mental health issue. And I think that's really important for us to continue the discussion once we get beyond the assault weapon ban.
And your advice to the president would be?
Well, assault weapon ban, high-capacity weapons, I mean, there's no reason for people to have those. I do think it's important for background checks. I mean, I read that statistic. I don't know whether it's completely accurate, but 30 or 40% of the weapons that are acquired are done so without a background check.
I've heard it's higher. It's as high as 50%.
And I just think a background check is very appropriate. It was appropriate then, it is now, and hopefully there'll be enough support for that kind of approach. But let's not kid ourselves. The debate must continue about urban violence, one-on-one violence, culture issues, and as well as mental health issues.
Governor Tom Ridge, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much for coming in.